Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Semantics reading course. My name is Mehmet Tunaz, and in this week's topic we are going to see Speech Acts Part 1 that we covered the first part last week. And if you have any question, you can see my email address here. You can ask me anytime your question. So let's start today's topic. So last week we covered assertive utterances and performative utterances. And these were the first two types of utterances of speech acts, let's say, the different types of speech acts. And we will see in this video the rest of the speech acts as the second part of the unit. So this week's presentation was prepared by Gizem, Mahmoud and Orhan. So we will see in this video the rest of the utterance or speech acts types, which are verdictive, expressive utterances, directive utterances, commissive utterances, and then finally we will see the comparison of these four different speech acts, and finally we will, as an extra time, we will see Phatic utterances. So let's start with verdictive utterances. So what is verdictive utterance? So verdictive utterances are speech acts in which the speaker makes an assessment or judgment about the acts of another, usually the addressee, the person that we speak to. So verdictive utterances include accusation, blaming, congratulation, praise, or condolence. In English, it is possible to begin a verdictive utterance with the words like I accuse or I blame or I congratulate, like this. So let's see the examples. So verdictive utterance has the frame of this sentence structure, like the subject is I or we, and then we have one of the verbs like accuse, congratulate, or blame, such kind of verbs. And then we have the addressee, the person that we speak to, and then we have usually of or for or any other preposition, and then we have verb ing, gerund here. And let's see the example number 1 and number 2, especially you have to be careful. I accuse you of putting on airs, or I congratulate you for performing so well. Both of these sentences are verdictive utterances, number 1 and number 2, because they are directly uttered by the speaker. As I said, the subject must be I or we, it doesn't matter, but it cannot be anything else. So the sentence 3 is the report of a verdictive utterance. It is not a directly uttered by the speaker. It is just a report of a verdictive utterance, because it says the mayor blamed. You can see the subject is not I or we, it is the mayor blamed the media for not accurately reporting his accomplishment. But if I change the sentence, I blamed the media, then it turns into a verdictive utterance, as in example number 1 and number 2. But in this form, it is the report. Okay, it is still a verdictive utterance, but it is the report of a verdictive utterance, to be more clear. So verdictive utterances has different verb types. So let's see them. The action is viewed positively. So it might be condemned somebody for doing something, or I compliment somebody on doing something. I congratulate somebody for doing something. You can see usually here it must be somebody, and then we have verb plus ing, gerund here. So the action in these examples, like honor, praise, commend, compliment, these are the positively viewed actions. In the second type, the action is beneficial to the speaker. So like I thank somebody for doing something, or I am grateful to somebody for doing something. You can see these are the verbs or adjective, as you can see, which shows there is a benefit to the speaker, but these are still verdictive utterances. And finally, the action is viewed negatively. So they can be again I or we, accuse somebody of doing something, blame somebody for doing something, admonish somebody for doing something. You can see criticize, scold, charge. All of them are negatively viewed actions actually. So these are all examples of verdictive utterances. So verdictive utterances, another example, the teacher excused or pardoned Henry for missing the meeting. So in this example, although the verb excuse and pardon, as in our example, express speech acts that do more than comment on an alleged previous action, but they presuppose the truth of that action, like blame, admonish, criticize, and scold. So felicity conditions for verdictive utterances are the possibility of the act, the ability of the addressee to perform it, and sincerity of the speaker in making the utterance, and the addressee's belief that the speaker is sincere. So these are the felicity conditions for verdictive utterances. So in verdictive utterance, this is the, let's say, structure. I and we must be the source, or we might say subject, and there should be an addressee, a goal. The person that we speak to, and there might be also a subject team or statement team, like somebody for doing something or somebody on doing something. Usually there is like somebody is like the listener, you, and there is also the predicate with verb ing. So all in all, verdictive utterances make a assessment or judgment. This is very important. Verdictive utterances make assessment or judgments about the actions of the person that we speak to. Okay, so let's move on to another type. So other type of utterance in this lesson is the expressive utterances. So what is expressive utterances? So an expressive utterance is about what the addressee has previously done. An expressive utterance springs from the previous actions or failure to act of the speaker, or perhaps the present result of those actions or failures. So expressive utterances are thus retrospective and speaker involved. So what does it mean? You will see in the examples. The most common expressive verbs, like in the sense of expressives, are like acknowledge, admit, apologize, confess, deny. So I acknowledge that I didn't do what I should have done. So we admit that we were mistaken. I apologize for having disturbed you. So these kind of verbs are the ones that makes expressive utterances. So these express the previous actions or a failure to do an action of the speaker. So felicity conditions are similar to those for verdictive utterances. So these are the felicity conditions for an expressive utterance. The act was feasible and the speaker was capable of it. The speaker speaks sincerely and the addressee believes it. So these are the conditions to make an expressive utterance. So this is the structure of expressive utterance. So there is again source like I and we as in verdictive utterance. And there is again a listener, a goal, an addressee, the person that we speak to again. And then here is a statement team, but this time, as opposed to verdictive utterance, the actor here is not you. The doer of the action is the same with the speaker. So the source and the actor are the same. The speaker is involved in the action. This is the biggest difference between expressive utterance and verdictive utterance. So let's see the directive utterance now. So directive utterances are those in which the speaker tries to get the addressee to perform some act or refrain from performing an act. So a directive utterance has the pronoun you as the actor. Whether that word is actually present in the utterance or not, it is not important. It might be like an imperative, like wait here. Although we do not say you wait here, we know that the imperative is directed to you, the person that we speak to. So you wait here and wait here are the same. It doesn't matter if we write here you or not. Could you close the door? As you can see, the speaker asks the listener to perform an action. So there are three kinds of directive utterances. These might be commands, requests, and suggestions. So we will see some examples for them. Speech act is a performed action via utterances, and speech act analyzes the role of utterance in relation to the behavior of speaker and addressee in interpersonal communication. So each speech act includes the illocutionary act. One kind of illocutionary act is called directive utterances. So this is an important quotation from you all. So let's see what these command, request, and suggestions examples of directive utterances. So let's look at command. A command is effective only if the speaker has some degree of control over the action of the addressee. Like, let's look at the commands. You must appear in court next Monday at 10 a.m. So this is the command. So I hereby order you to appear in court next Monday at 10 a.m. Here orders. And I am telling you not to waste your time on that. And don't waste your time on that. You can see the same action is commanded to the speaker, to the listener in different ways. So let's see. Commands can be produced in different ways through the explicitness. Like, although B and C are more explicit because these are explicitly, clearly commanding to the listener, A and D are more casual, and again they are actually types of commands. Although we say you must appear, so actually we mean that I command you to do like this. And in D it is also imperative, like don't do this. It is again a command to the listener. So another type of directive utterance is the request type. A request is an expression of what the speaker wants the addressee to do or refrain from doing. So let's see the example, like I appeal to you to help as much as you can. We beg you to stay out of the way. The receptionist asks the people in the waiting room not to smoke there. Request predicates are usually like appeal to, ask, beg, beseech, entreat, implore, petition, plead with, and request. So ask is unmarked. Appeal suggests that person is in authority. Like petition suggests a formal request, and beseech is nearly archaic. Request is followed by the hypothetical clause, and therefore rather formal. The others are stronger requests than ask. So these are the explanation for the examples here, as you see. So let's see the last type. So the last type is suggestion, the type of directive utterance actually. Suggestions are the utterance we make to other persons to give our opinions as to what they should or should not do. As you can understand, this is the suggestion. So these might be uttered like I advise you to take my advice. Again, you can see advice. We suggest you pay more attention to what you are doing. Here, it is not important if we use should or not. We can omit it, we can delete it, it doesn't matter. So positive expressions like advise, counsel, recommend, and that might be like negative expression as well, like caution or we warn you, something like that. And these are the more examples. I challenge you, I propose that you, I encourage you, I will discourage you from doing something, I will remind you to do something. You can see all of them are directly or indirectly giving the implication of suggestion. So the fourth type of utterance today is the commissive utterances. So commissive utterance, speech acts that commit a speaker to a course of action are called commissive utterances. So these include promises, pledges, threats, and vows. Commissive verbs are illustrated by agree, ask, offer, refuse, swear, promise, pledge, threat, and vows. The subject of the sentence is most likely to be I or we again. Like, I promise to be on time. I agree to your terms. You can see these show commitment in their meanings actually. So commissives are utterances in which the speaker binds himself or herself to perform or refrain from doing some act at a later time. In other words, they are prospective and concerned with the speaker's commitment to future action, like promising to do something, or agreeing doing something, offering to do something, refusing to do something. They might be also refrain, like refuse. It doesn't mean that the speaker certainly promised to do something. They might be maybe meaning to avoiding doing something as well. So in commissive utterances, the verb must be in present tense for sure. This is very important. And there is some addressee. Whether the utterance shows it or not, it doesn't matter, but there must be an addressee. And below, with other kinds of subject or a different tense, are not commitments, but reports of commitments. Be careful. Ernest promised us to be on time, and I agreed to your terms. So, although both of them might seem like commissive utterances, you can see that the subject and the verb shows that it is a commissive utterance, but the tense is simple past tense. It is not present tense as we said here. So, these are not commissive utterances. These are the reports of commitment. Please be careful. It must be in present tense. So the structure of sentence with commissive predicate is like INV as the source or subject. And then it doesn't matter if we mention this goal, but we know that there is a goal, there is an addressee here. It doesn't matter if it is present in the sentence or not. And the statement theme is the actor, again, the same as the source of the sentence. The subject is also the doer of the verb, the doer of the predicate actually. So this is the structure of the commissive predicate. So commissive predicate might be a response to directive, like positive response, like agree, consent, and agree is more common. And it might be a negative response, like refuse, decline. Refuse is stronger, decline more formal and more polite. There might be self-motivated expressions like benefactive, like offer, volunteer to do something, or malefactive, like threaten doing something, to do something. Focus on speech acts like pledge, promise, swear, like promise is unmarked and pledge is a solemn promise made in public. And to swear is to take a semi-religious oath, yemin etmek anlamında. So let's move on. So now we will see the comparison of these four speech acts. So the last four speech acts that we see in this presentation, in today's lessons, and the predicates that occur in them are alike in being concerned with some action. So they differ from one another about whether the act has purportedly already taken place, I mean if they are retrospective, or is yet to occur in the future, like prospective, and whether the speaker or the addressee is the agent, the doer of the act. So you can see that they differ from one another if they are related to past actions, if they are related to future actions, and if the speaker is the doer of the action or if the listener is the doer of the action. So these four items or terms are the key factor that differentiate the four speech acts that we analyze today. So let's look at them on schema, like verdictive, retrospective, and addressee involved. You can see that the verdictive utterances are related to past actions, and the addressee's action, the doer is the addressee, the listener. And in expressive utterances, they are again about the past action. I mean, they are retrospective, and again, the speaker is the doer of the action. And in directive utterances, the action is about the future, so that's why they are prospective, and the addressee is the doer of the action. The addressee is involved, I mean the listener. Addressee is the listener, let's say. And the final type, commissive utterances, are about, again, prospective utterances like future actions, and here the speaker is the action agent, let's say, the doer of the action, let's say. So you can see from this table their similarity and differences clearly. So the last type, and an extra type, let's say, which is a totally different type of utterance that we might analyze, is the Phatic utterances. So Phatic utterances in linguistics, a Phatic expression is a communication which serves as social function, such as social pleasantries that do not seek or offer information of intrinsic value, but can signal willingness or to observe conventional local expectations for politeness. So, in Phatic utterances, the speaker doesn't wait for a real answer, actually. So Phatic expressions are a social pragmatic function and are used in everyday conversational exchange, typically expressed in situational instances that call for social cues. So in speech communication, the term means small talk, like conversation for its own sake, which doesn't wait, which doesn't expect an answer, and has also been called grooming talking. So we will see the example. Like greetings such as hello, how are you in many contexts, and good afternoon are all Phatic expressions. And in Phatic expressions, speech acts are not communicative since no content is communicated. According to anthropologist Bronisław Malinowski, apparently purposeless speech acts, polite small talk like how are you or have a nice day, even though their content may be trivial or irrelevant to the situation, they perform the important function of establishing, maintaining, or managing bonds with socially between participants. So they have pragmatic value rather than a linguistic value, let's say. So let's see an example here. Here is a lady and she says, I have to go to the restaurant before it closes down. So let's look at this illustration here. Hello, madam, where are you going? So when you see someone, just to greet them, if you ask this question, hey, how are you, where are you going? And actually you do not expect for a real answer. So where have you been, Madam Jane? So this is another type of greeting again, and it doesn't wait for an answer. So why did everybody seem so curious about where I was going to or where I had been? So you can see this is the question. But actually, these two people are not curious about where Jane is going right now. They are just trying to start a small talk or just initiate a conversation. That's why they are making these utterances. So this kind of utterances are the examples of Phatic utterances. So those people did not expect me to answer, but just wanted to start the conversation with me. So it shows that is an example of a phatic utterance. Okay, so I think it is clear now. So here we have a small exercise page. So let's do them together. Actually, you can stop the video to give yourself some time. I will directly give you the answers, so you can stop the video. So let's see which sentence is the example of these utterance types. So our first type is, thank you for being my friend. So this is verdictive utterance, like I thank you. Although it is not written here, it must be I or we, thank you for being my friend. So this is a type of verdictive utterance. Because the addressee here, I mean you, is the doer of the action. Okay? So it is about a past action, so it is like a retrospective action. And here the goal is the doer of the action, as you can see, for being who be, so you be. So you can see that, the goal, I mean the addressee or the person that we speak to is the action of the verb here, and it is about a retrospective action, so it is an example of verdictive utterance. So the second type, expressive utterance, here again the subject is I and the verb is confess, to express something. You can see that confess is the verb. It is a clue of an expressive utterance. I confess that I killed the girl. So here it is again about a retrospective, I mean about a past action, but different from a verdictive utterance. In expressive utterance, the doer of the action is also the subject of the main clause. So this is the properties, the features of expressive utterance. The third type, not actually, another type of expressive utterance, I am sorry for what I have done. Actually, here you can see that again we have I and a past action here, a retrospective action here, and the doer is I again. So you can see this is an example of expressive utterance. So another type is the example of verdictive utterance. I blame you for coming late. So as in the first example here, in this example, I and you, I is the subject or goal, the source, and you is the goal, I mean the addressee, the listener, and here is a past action. And here the goal, the addressee, is the doer of the action, the agent of the past action. So this is an example of verdictive utterance that we firstly analyze in today's lesson in the beginning of the video. So how is it going? Is an example of phatic utterance, because this sentence is not waiting for a real answer. It is just used as an initiative, as a utterance to start a conversation. So here is not given any directive utterance type, but we already know there are three different types of directive utterances that you already saw in the examples and in the explanation part in previous minutes. So let's see these exercise. In here you will see directive utterance as well. So a directive utterance has the pronoun as actor. So the doer as the actor. Which pronouns do we have in directive utterance? We have I as the pronoun of a directive utterance. Like, I order you to stay at home. What kind of directive utterance is the sentence? This is certainly a type of directive utterance because there is an order actually. You can understand from the verb here. So which type of directive utterance? Is it a suggestion? Is it a request? Or is it a command? So of course it is a command, because order and command. He offered us a new contract. The sentence is an example for commitment or report of commitment. This is a very good question which you might come across also in your final exam maybe. So you can see the sentence is a type, it seems like a commitment type, but it is not in present tense, it is in simple past tense. So we cannot say it is a commitment, but it is a report of commitment. And I think it is clear, but if you still have any question, you can of course reach me in your by writing an email, as I mentioned in the beginning of lesson. So thank you for watching this video. Have a good day. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.